The emissaries return. The bridge of the UES Artemis hummed with the quiet efficiency of Earth's finest technology. Captain Alina Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the vast emptiness before them. This was the farthest any human vessel had traveled in centuries, beyond the Sol system, past the early colony attempts on Proxima Centauri V, and into the unknown reaches where humanity had never ventured. Dropping out of FTL in 3, 2, 1, announced Lieutenant Commander Jackson, his fingers dancing across the navigation console. The stars stretched and then snapped back into pinpoints as the Artemis transitioned to normal space. The main view screen adjusted automatically, revealing their destination. A binary star system with 5 planets orbiting in a complex dance of gravity. Elena felt her heart quicken. After 4 years of construction and 2 years of travel, they had arrived at the coordinates embedded in the mysterious signal that had reached Earth's deep space monitoring stations. A signal that, according to their best linguists and cryptographers, was an invitation. "Status report," Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's future riding on her shoulders. "All systems nominal, Captain," replied Commander Sato, her executive officer. "Quantum drive cooling as expected. Life support at optimal levels. No immediate threats detected." Chief Science Officer Dr. Aisha Ibrahim looked up from her station, dark brows furrowed. "Captain, I'm detecting artificial structures in orbit around the 4th planet. Massive ones." Before Elena could respond, Lieutenant Park at communications straightened suddenly. "Captain, we're being hailed. The signal, it's matching the pattern we received on Earth." Elena nodded, smoothing down her midnight blue uniform. On screen. The view screen flickered, and Elena found herself staring at a being unlike any she had ever seen. Its body appeared humanoid in basic structure, but its skin shimmered with a metallic iridescence, and its eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, glowed with an inner light that reminded Elena of the bioluminescent oceans of her childhood home in Puerto Rico. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the being said, its voice translated through the ship's advanced AI system. "I am Ambassador Killith of the Vaxari Confederation. We have been waiting a very long time for your arrival." Elena stepped forward. "I am Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth Space Vessel Artemis. We received your invitation and have come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations." The alien's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "Invitation. Interesting. We sent no invitation, Captain. The signal you received was a monitoring beacon, one of thousands we have deployed throughout this sector of the galaxy. Your species was not supposed to detect it, much less decode it." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "Then why greet us as if you were expecting us?" "Because we have been watching Earth for centuries," Kylith replied. "Your species has been of particular interest to the galactic community." Elena exchanged glances with Commander Sato, whose normally impassive face showed a rare flash of concern. "Ambassador Killith," Elena said carefully, "you speak as if there is an established interstellar civilization that we are unaware of." The alien made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Captain Rice, there are 17 spacefaring civilizations in this sector alone, comprising the galactic Concordat. Humanity is not the first to reach the stars, merely the most isolated." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had believed itself alone in the universe, or at least the first to achieve interstellar travel in their corner of the galaxy. The notion that they had been observed, studied like specimens in a cosmic zoo, sent a surge of indignation through Elena. "Why have you never made contact before now?" she demanded. "The Concordat has strict protocols regarding emerging species," Kylith explained. "Contact is only established once a civilization independently develops stable faster-than-light travel and ventures beyond their home system. You have now done both." Dr. Ibrahim stepped forward. "Ambassador, our historical records indicate that humanity has been exploring space for over 3 centuries. We established colonies on Mars and several moons of Jupiter and Saturn, before developing our quantum drive. Yes, Kyleth replied, and you have been observed throughout that time. Your development has been most unusual. Most species take millennia to progress from primitive technology to space travel. You accomplished it in mere centuries. It is why the Concordat has been so cautious with Earth. Elena felt a sense of pride at these words, but it was tempered by caution. Ambassador, I would like to invite you aboard the Artemis to continue this discussion in person, if your physiology permits. That will not be necessary, Kyleth responded. Instead, I extend an invitation to you and a small delegation to visit our diplomatic station orbiting Nexus IV, the fourth planet of this system. There, you can meet representatives from several Concordat species and begin formal introductions to the galactic community. Before Elena could respond, Lieutenant Commander Jackson spoke urgently. Captain, multiple ships decloaking around us. 7. No, 12 vessels of varying configurations. The view screen split to show a tactical display. The Artemis was surrounded by ships that had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, each one larger than their own vessel. A security precaution, Kyleth said smoothly. We were unsure of your intentions. Elena's jaw tightened. This was no mere greeting party. It was a show of force, a demonstration that humans were outmatched before negotiations had even begun. Commander Sato, maintain yellow alert. Do not power weapons, Elena ordered quietly before addressing the ambassador again. These precautions seem excessive for a peaceful diplomatic meeting, Ambassador. Perhaps, Kyleth conceded, but you must understand our position. There are legends about humans in our ancient records, stories that have made many in the Concordat cautious about your return to the stars. Return? Elena questioned. You speak as if we've been out here before. For the first time, Kyleth seemed hesitant. That is a discussion best had in person, Captain. Will you accept our invitation? Elena considered her options. The Artemis was equipped with Earth's most advanced defensive systems, but they were clearly outnumbered. More importantly, they were carrying the hopes of all humanity. The chance to establish Earth as a player on an interstellar stage they hadn't even known existed until moments ago. We accept your invitation, Ambassador. I will leave a delegation to your station in 12 hours, after my crew has had time to prepare. Excellent, Kyleth replied. Coordinates are being transmitted to your navigation system. We look forward to formally welcoming humanity to the galactic community. As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted into controlled chaos as officers processed what they had just learned. Tactical assessment, Elena demanded. Commander Seto responded immediately. The alien vessels possess technology significantly beyond our own, Captain. Their cloaking capabilities alone suggest at least a century's advantage. If they decide we're a threat, the Artemis wouldn't stand a chance. Then we ensure they don't see us as a threat, Elena replied. Dr. Ibrahim, I want everything we know about the Vaxari and this Concordat before I step foot on that station. Lieutenant Park, establish a secure quantum link to Earth Command. They need to know what we've discovered. As her crew hurried to comply with her orders, Elena gazed at the alien ships surrounding them. For centuries, humanity had looked to the stars, wondering if they were alone. Now they had their answer, but it raised far more questions than it resolved. 12 hours later, Elena led a small delegation including Dr. Ibrahim, Commander Sato, and Lieutenant Park toward the diplomatic station in one of the Artemis' shuttles. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive ring structure spinning gently to create artificial gravity, with spires extending inward toward a central hub glowing with energy. Remarkable, murmured Dr. Ibrahim as they approached. The energy readings suggest they're harnessing zero-point energy on a scale we've only theorized about. Stay focused, Elena reminded her. We're here to establish diplomatic relations, not to gawk at their technology. The shuttle docked smoothly in a bay that adjusted to accommodate their unfamiliar vessel. As the airlock cycled, Elena took a deep breath of the Artemis's air, possibly the last breath of pure Earth atmosphere she would take for some time. The doors slid open to reveal Ambassador Killith waiting with several other aliens, each more extraordinary than the last. One appeared to be composed entirely of crystalline structures that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. Another was massive and ursine, with 6 limbs and armor that seemed to be part of its body rather than worn. "Captain Reyes," Kylith greeted them. "Welcome to Nexus Station. Allow me to introduce representatives from the Galactic Concordat." As introductions were made, Alina struggled to memorize the unpronounceable names and the complex political relationships between species. The crystalline being was from a race called the Tulnari, founder members of the Concordat. The Ursine creature represented the Brodi Collective, renowned as warriors and engineers throughout the galaxy. "And this," Kylith said finally, indicating a tall, slender being with paper-white skin and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies, "is Observer Zethan of the Archivist Enclave. The Archivists are the keepers of galactic history and the primary advocates for your species within the Concordat." Zethan stepped forward, studying Elena with an intensity that made her skin prickle. At last, it said in a voice that seemed to bypass her ears and resonate directly in her mind, "The sleepers awaken." "I don't understand," Elena replied. "You speak as if you know us." "We know of you," Zethan corrected. "Humanity has been absent from the galactic stage for a very long time. Your return was predicted, but not for another millennium at least." Commander Sato stepped forward. "With respect, Observer, humans have never been part of any galactic community before now. We've only just developed technology capable of reaching neighboring star systems." The assembled aliens exchanged glances that Elena couldn't interpret. "Captain Reyes," Kylith said carefully, "what do your people know of their history before the Great Cataclysm?" "The Great Cataclysm," Elena repeated, confused. "I'm not familiar with that term." "Approximately 12,000 of your years ago," Zethan explained, "there was a civilization of beings remarkably similar to your species spread across hundreds of star systems in this galactic arm. They called themselves the progenitors. They were builders, explorers, and according to some accounts, meddlers in the natural development of other species." Dr. Ibrahim's eyes widened. "Are you suggesting that these progenitors were human?" "Not exactly," Zethan replied. "But genetic analysis of remains found on ancient progenitor worlds and comparison with samples we've obtained from Earth suggest a relationship that cannot be coincidental. Either they were your ancestors, or they interfered with our evolution." Dr. Ibrahim finished, her scientific mind racing ahead. "Precisely," Zethan nodded. And then, suddenly, they vanished. All contact ceased. Their outposts went dark. Their great cities crumbled to dust. The few other spacefaring races of that era found only abandoned worlds where the progenitors had once thrived. Elena struggled to process this information. "And you believe these progenitors retreated to Earth? That doesn't align with our evolutionary record or archaeological findings." "We believe," Kylith interjected, "that Earth may have been a sanctuary, a place where something of the progenitors could survive whatever catastrophe befell them. Perhaps genetic material, perhaps a small population reduced to a pre-technological state. This is why many in the Concordat have viewed Earth with caution," rumbled the Brodi representative. "The progenitors possess technologies that could unmake worlds, if their descendants were to reclaim such knowledge. The implications hung in the air between them. Humanity wasn't being welcomed as a new player on the galactic stage. They were being watched as the potential heirs to a civilization that had apparently terrified the galaxy 12 millennia ago." "I assure you," Elena said firmly, "Earth has no knowledge of these progenitors or their technology. We've developed our science independently, through centuries of research and innovation. Yet you've done so at a pace that defies all established models of species development," Kylith pointed out. "From primitive combustion engines to quantum drive in less than 400 years. Many in the Concordat find this concerning. Is that why you've surrounded our ship with a fleet? Elena asked bluntly. Are we guests here or prisoners? The tension in the room rose palpably. The crystalline Tlaneri emitted a series of chimes that the translator rendered as, "The human speaks directly. This is consistent with historical accounts." "You are neither guests nor prisoners, Captain," Zethan said after a moment. "You are an unknown variable in complex political equations. The Concordat has been debating for centuries how to respond when humanity inevitably reached the stars again. Some advocated for immediate containment, others for open embrace as equals. And what was decided?" Elena pressed. "Nothing," Kyleth admitted. "Your arrival was premature by our calculations. This meeting is improvised." Elena sensed an opportunity in this admission. "Then perhaps we can help shape the Concordat's decision. Allow us to demonstrate that humanity comes in peace, seeking knowledge and cooperation, not conquest." "That would be acceptable," Zethan replied. "But be warned, Captain, there are factions within the Concordat who will interpret any sign of aggression or technological overreach as confirmation of their fears. Your actions here will determine humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come." As the formal meeting continued, Elena found herself engaged in the most consequential diplomatic mission in human history. The future of Earth depended on the impressions she and her team made on these representatives of a galactic civilization they hadn't even known existed until today. Hours later, as the delegation prepared to return to the Artemis, Zethan approached Elena privately. "Captain, there is something else you should know, something not all members of the Concordat are aware of." Elena regarded the archivist cautiously. "I'm listening." "The great cataclysm that ended the progenitor civilization. It was not natural, nor was it self-inflicted as many believe. There are records, ancient and fragmentary, that suggest an external force, a species or perhaps something else entirely, that saw the progenitors as a threat to be eliminated." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "And you think this force might still exist?" "I do not know," Zethan admitted. "But if it does, and if it recognizes humanity as descendants of its ancient enemy, your species may have more to fear than mere political suspicion from the Concordat." As Elena boarded the shuttle to return to the Artemis, she carried not only the weight of representing humanity to the galaxy, but also the disturbing possibility that Earth's emergence onto the galactic stage might attract the attention of something ancient and implacably hostile. The shuttle journey back to the Artemis passed in contemplative silence, each member of the delegation lost in their own thoughts about the revelations they had encountered. Elena stared out at the stars, no longer seeing them as beacons of exploration, but as points of light hiding ancient histories and potential threats. Back aboard the Artemis, Elena immediately called her senior staff to the briefing room. As the officers assembled, their faces showed a mixture of excitement and concern. "The situation is more complex than we anticipated," Elena began. "We've not simply discovered an alien civilization. We've stumbled into a galactic political structure that has been watching Earth for millennia, debating our fate before we even knew they existed." She outlined what they had learned about the Concordat and the mysterious progenitors who might be connected to humanity's distant past. "So they think we're the descendants of some ancient advanced civilization?" Lieutenant Commander Jackson asked skeptically. "That seems far-fetched, Captain." "It does," Dr. Ibrahim agreed, "but the genetic evidence they shared is compelling. There are markers in our DNA that don't follow typical evolutionary patterns, anomalies that geneticists have puzzled over for centuries. If these progenitors intervened in human development thousands of years ago, it could explain these discrepancies." "The immediate concern," Commander Sato interjected, "is our diplomatic position. We're viewed not as newcomers, but as potential returning conquerors. Every action we take will be scrutinized through that lens." Elena nodded grimly. "Which is why our next move is crucial. The Concordat is divided on how to handle humanity's emergence. We need to demonstrate that we're not a threat, without appearing weak or submissive." "Captain," Lieutenant Park said hesitantly, should we inform Earth Command about everything we've learned? The implications for human history alone are staggering, not to mention the security concerns. We will send a complete report, Elena confirmed, but given the 8-day communication lag, even with quantum entanglement, we need to make decisions here and now. Earth is counting on us to represent humanity's interests. The briefing continued late into the night as they debated strategies and analyzed the information they'd gathered about the various concordat species. Each had their own agenda, their own reason for either welcoming or fearing humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. As the meeting concluded, Commander Sato remained behind. "Captain, there's something that concerns me. The Concordat claims to have been monitoring Earth for centuries, yet they never detected our quantum communications network or our early FTL experiments. Either their surveillance is not as thorough as they claim, or they're lying about something," Elena finished. "I had the same thought, Commander. Keep digging, quietly. I want to know what they're not telling us." 3 days passed in a flurry of diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges. Elena and her team visited the stations of various Concordat species, learning about their histories and technologies, while carefully sharing selected information about Earth. Throughout these interactions, Elena sensed an undercurrent of tension, as if everyone was waiting for humans to make a mistake that would confirm their suspicions. On the 4th day, everything changed. "Captain, to the bridge. Emergency protocol." Commander Sato's voice came through the ship's communication system, waking Elena from a light sleep. Within minutes, she was on the bridge, still securing her uniform jacket. "Report. New vessels entering the system, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported tensely. "Configuration unknown, not matching any Concordat designs we've seen." The view screen showed 3 massive ships approaching the Nexus station. Their design was brutally functional, all sharp angles and protruding weapon emplacements, with no concession to aesthetics. "We're receiving a transmission from Ambassador Kylith," Lieutenant Park announced. "On screen," Elena ordered. Kylith's image appeared, their 4 eyes darting nervously. "Captain Rice, you must return to your ship immediately. The Krell Dominion has arrived." "The Krell Dominion? They weren't mentioned in any of our briefings," Elena replied sharply. "They are not part of the Concordat," Kylith explained hastily. "The Krell are isolationists who broke away from galactic cooperation millennia ago. They monitor Concordat communications and must have detected our discussions about your arrival." "Why would they care about humans?" Elena demanded. "Because," Kylith said, lowering their voice, "the Krell believe they are the true heirs of the progenitor's legacy. They claim to possess progenitor artifacts and knowledge that the rest of us do not. If they've learned of your genetic connection to the progenitors, the implications were clear. The Artemis had just become the focus of an interstellar power struggle they knew nothing about." "What are your recommendations, Ambassador?" Elena asked, mind racing through tactical options. "Leave. Immediately," Kylith urged. "Return to Earth and warn your people. The Concordat will attempt to delay the Krell, but they cannot be trusted to respect Nexus Station's diplomatic status." Elena studied Kylith's expression, searching for deception. "You're afraid of them." "With good reason," Kylith admitted. "The Krell possess weapons technology that exceeds even our most advanced systems. They rarely leave their territory, but when they do, it is never without purpose." As if to punctuate this warning, the Krell vessels accelerated toward the station, bypassing the Concordat ships that moved to intercept them. "Captain," Commander Sato said quietly, "our quantum drive needs at least 30 minutes to reach optimal power for FTL travel." Elena made her decision. "Begin drive preparation." "But we're not running yet." "Lieutenant Park, open a channel to the lead Krell vessel." "Captain, I strongly advise against this," Kylith objected. "Noted, Ambassador," Elena replied firmly. "But I won't flee without understanding the threat we face. Humanity doesn't have the luxury of ignorance anymore." After a tense moment, Lieutenant Park announced, "Channel open, Captain." This is Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth vessel Artemis to approaching Krell ships. We are on a peaceful diplomatic mission and request communication before you take further action. The view screen shifted to show a being that appeared almost human at first glance, until Alina noticed the metallic sheen of its skin and the network of circuitry visible beneath its surface. Its eyes were solid black orbs that reflected the bridge of the Artemis back at them. "I am Overseer Talak of the Krell Dominion," the being stated in a voice devoid of emotion. "Your presence has been noted, human. Your genetic profile has been scanned and confirmed. You will surrender your vessel and submit to examination." "We will do no such thing," Alina replied firmly. "The Artemis is a sovereign vessel of Earth, and we—" "Earth," Talak interrupted, "the sanctuary world. The final repository. You carry the legacy code within you, Captain Alina Reyes. The Dominion has waited thousands of years for this moment." Without warning, energy readings from the Krell vessels spiked dramatically. "They're powering weapons," Lieutenant Commander Jackson shouted. "Shields to maximum." Alina ordered. "Evasive pattern Delta." The Artemis shuddered as its engines roared to life, banking hard away from the station and the approaching Krell ships. On the view screen, Alina saw Concordat vessels moving to intercept, but the Krell ignored them, focusing entirely on the human ship. "They're targeting our engine section," Commander Sato reported calmly despite the chaos. "Attempting to disable us, not destroy us." "They want the ship intact," Alina realized. "Lieutenant Commander, prepare the Solaris Protocol." Her senior officers exchanged glances. The Solaris Protocol was a theoretical maneuver that had never been attempted outside simulations, a desperate gambit designed for situations exactly like this. "Captain," Dr. Ibrahim said urgently, "if we attempt Solaris in a real-world scenario, the quantum field destabilization cold." "I'm aware of the risks, Doctor," Alina cut her off. "But I'm not surrendering this ship or our crew to become laboratory specimens for the Krell. Commander Sato, ready all databases for purge on my command. If we can't escape, they won't get our technology or research." As the Artemis twisted through space, energy beams from the Krell vessels sliced through the void where they had been moments before. The human ship was more agile, but the Krell weapons had greater range and power. "Quantum drive at 70%, Captain," reported the engineering officer. 10 more minutes to safe FTL threshold." "We don't have 10 minutes, Alina muttered. "Execute Solaris Protocol on my mark." Commander Sato's fingers hovered over his console. "Ready, Captain." Alina watched as the Krell vessels adjusted their formation, moving to box in the Artemis. It was now or never. "Mark." The Artemis suddenly cut all propulsion, appearing to drift powerless in space. The Krell vessels hesitated, sensors detecting the apparent failure of the human ship systems. "They're scanning us," Lieutenant Park reported. "Reading our shutdown as complete system failure." "Maintain a mission blackout," Alina ordered. "Let them think we're dead in space." As predicted, the Krell ships moved closer, their weapons powering down as they prepared to capture what they believed was a disabled vessel. "Quantum drive energy redirected to deflector array," Commander Sato confirmed. "Ready on your command." Alina waited until the lead Krell vessel was less than 5 kilometers away. Now, the Artemis erupted with energy as its quantum drive channeled power not into propulsion, but into a massive electromagnetic pulse designed to temporarily disrupt advanced electronic systems. The pulse washed over the Krell ships, causing their lights to flicker and their weapons to power down. "Maximum thrust," Alina commanded. "Get us clear of their disruption radius." The Artemis's engines flared to life, propelling the ship away from the disabled Krell vessels. On the view screen, Alina could see the alien ships drifting, their systems struggling to restart after the unexpected attack. "Quantum drive status," she demanded. 85% and climbing," came the response. The Solaris pulse drained less power than simulations predicted. "The Krell ships are reactivating, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jackson warned. Estimated 3 minutes until they're fully operational. We only need 2, Elena replied grimly. Set course for Earth and prepare for quantum jump the moment we reach threshold. As the Artemis fled the Nexus system, a transmission cut through their communications. It was Zethan, the archivist. Captain Reyes, the ancient being said urgently, the Krell will follow you to Earth. They believe humans possess knowledge of progenitor technology that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. You must warn your people. This is only the beginning. Understood, Elena replied. But tell me quickly, what do they think we have? The Krell believe, Zethan explained, that Earth is not merely a sanctuary for progenitor genetics, but the hiding place of the Nexus Key, a device capable of activating or deactivating all progenitor technology throughout the galaxy. If such a thing exists and the Krell obtain it, they would control everything the progenitors built. Elena finished. Does this key actually exist? I do not know, Zethan admitted. But the Krell's willingness to break centuries of isolation suggests they believe it does, and that it is on Earth. The transmission cut off as the Artemis reached quantum threshold. The stars ahead stretched into lines as the ship accelerated beyond light speed, beginning its 2-year journey back to Earth carrying a warning of a threat humanity never knew existed. As the familiar sensation of quantum travel settled around them, Elena looked at her crew, the first humans to learn that their species was not only not alone in the universe, but potentially the inheritors of an ancient legacy that made them both coveted and feared. Send a priority message to Earth Command, she ordered Lieutenant Park. Tell them everything has changed. The Galactic Reckoning. 2 years had passed since the Artemis began its journey home, carrying warnings of a galactic community and the mysterious Krell Dominion. Now, as Earth's gleaming orbital platforms came into view, Captain Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of her quarters, wondering how to explain to humanity's leaders that they had inadvertently stepped onto an interstellar chessboard where the pieces had been arranged millennia before their birth. Captain, Commander Sato's voice came through the comm. Earth Defense Command is requesting your presence at their headquarters immediately upon docking. The Security Council has been assembled. Acknowledged, Elena replied. Have the data packets been transmitted? Yes, Captain. All logs, sensor readings, and diplomatic records from our encounter with the Concordat and the Krell have been delivered to Earth Command. Elena nodded to herself. At least they wouldn't be walking in cold. The quantum entanglement messages they'd sent during their return journey had prepared Earth's leadership for the basics of what they'd discovered, but the details and the implications would still be shocking. 3 hours later, Elena stood before the United Earth Security Council, comprising representatives from every major nation and orbital colony. The chamber was imposing, designed to reflect humanity's unified strength after centuries of division and conflict. Ironic, Elena thought, considering the news she brought might force them to unify as never before. Captain Reyes, began Secretary General Okafor, her voice carrying the weight of authority. Your reports have caused considerable concern among Earth's leadership. You claim that not only are we not alone in the galaxy, but that advanced civilizations have been watching us for centuries, and that some believe we are descendants of an ancient species that once dominated this region of space. That is correct, Madam Secretary General, Elena confirmed. The Galactic Concordat comprises 17 spacefaring civilizations, with technology ranging from comparable to ours to significantly more advanced. Most have been observing Earth with varying degrees of interest for hundreds of years. And this Krell Dominion? Asked the representative from the Pan-Asian Coalition. You believe they pose an immediate threat to Earth? I do, Elena stated firmly. The Krell were willing to attack a diplomatic station and violate Concordat protocols to capture our ship. Their interest in humanity is not scientific curiosity. They believe we possess something they want. The Nexus Key, Secretary General Okafor said, reading from the report. A device that supposedly controls ancient technology scattered throughout the galaxy. Do we have any evidence this device actually exists? Dr. Ibrahim stepped forward. Madam Secretary, in the 2 years since our encounter, I've been comparing the fragmentary information the archivists shared with our archaeological records. There are correlations that cannot be dismissed. She activated a holographic display showing artifacts from various Earth cultures: Sumerian, Egyptian, Mohenjo-Daro, Olmec, alongside images of progenitor technology recovered from the Concordat's databases. The similarities in design are statistically significant. Dr. Ibrahim continued. More troubling are these symbols, which appear in ancient sites across Earth separated by thousands of kilometers and centuries of time. They match progenitor script recovered from abandoned outposts throughout the galaxy. Murmurs spread through the council chamber as the implications sank in. Are you suggesting, the European Union representative asked incredulously, that human civilization was influenced by these progenitors? The evidence points to more than influence, Dr. Ibrahim replied carefully. Genetic analysis suggests directed evolution, precise modifications to pre-human primates that accelerated our cognitive development and physical capabilities. The progenitors didn't just visit Earth, they shaped humanity itself. The chamber erupted into heated discussions until Secretary General Okafor raised her hand for silence. Captain Rice, what are your recommendations? She asked directly. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady. Earth must prepare for contact with both the Concordat and the Krell. We should accelerate our quantum drag production to create a defensive fleet, establish outposts in nearby star systems to serve as early warning stations, and most importantly, we must search for any evidence of progenitor technology here on Earth. And if we find this nexus key, asked the representative from the African Federation. That, Elena said grimly, is a decision that would affect not just Earth, but potentially every world touched by progenitor influence. The device, if it exists, could represent the greatest power humanity has ever wielded, or the greatest danger we've ever faced. The debate raged for hours, with factions forming around various responses to this new reality. Some advocated for isolationism, building defenses and hiding from galactic politics. Others saw opportunity in alliance with the Concordat against the Krell. Still others questioned whether the entire situation was a misunderstanding or manipulation by alien forces. When the council finally adjourned, Elena was exhausted but unsurprised by their decision. Earth would prepare for all contingencies while searching for evidence of the Nexus Key or any other progenitor technology that might have been hidden on their planet. 6 months later, Elena found herself once again on the bridge of the Artemis, now refitted with improved weapons and defensive systems based on what they had observed of Concordat technology. Earth had launched 3 more quantum ships in that time, the beginning of a fleet that might one day defend their homeworld. Captain, Lieutenant Park called from communications. We're receiving a transmission from the Lunar Monitoring Station. They're detecting a quantum signature approaching the system. Identification, Elena asked sharply. The energy pattern is. It matches Vaxeri technology, Captain. It appears to be a diplomatic vessel. Elena exchanged glances with Commander Sato. So they followed us home after all. The question is, Sato replied quietly, are they representatives?